Hi, I'm Andrey Rogozin, this is Beyond Real Talk, and this is the best of 2025 episode. So, this year, second year on YouTube, it was tough. The life was tough. My financial position wasn't the best, acting-wise and just in personal life. It was a tough year, and of course, it reflected on the podcast. Unfortunately, this year I only had 9 episodes. This is the number 10 in comparison to 2024 with 30 episodes. I've learned that nothing is guaranteed. First of all, I was sure I would definitely have more views by now. It didn't happen. There were quite a few guests who pulled out, quite a few guests who said yes to the podcast and then either changed their mind, which is fine. I understand that no one owes me anything. It's a tiny podcast and people have their own stuff to do. And there were a few people who said yes first, or maybe, and then stopped answering my emails, which stings. I don't like when that happens. But obviously, we move on, we move forward. I can promise you that in the next year, I will do the best I can to bring you more interesting guests, to have more interesting conversations, and probably, hopefully, to grow the audience. But nevertheless, this year I've had 9 episodes with amazing people. Some of them found me, some of them I had the pleasure to work with. And I hope you will enjoy the best of 2025. Happy New Year. I'll see you next year, and I hope we all will have more success. Ballad of Wallis Island.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Because it feels like a very, very, very personal project.
It is a very personal project, and really it happened because me and Tim, who I wrote it with, Tim Key, who's also in it, we kind of couldn't really accept that we'd never got to make that feature film. We made a short film of it. Well, a short film that's a very simplified version of the feature, obviously, in like 2006 or 7. And over the years, we would show it at like, whenever we do live comedy together, we'd often show the film at the end. It was about 20 minutes or something. And we were always really passionate about the characters and the idea, wanted to come back to it. And I guess just that ended up, after a while, we kind of felt like we had to do something. So we'd start writing ideas for it and writing scenes for it. This was about 2017, 18. And then I think in 2019, I sent him an outline that's pretty much the film as it is, like the feature. Because we never quite found the thing that transformed it from a short to a feature over those years. And then when we came up with the idea of there being the character of Nell, and Charles is not just hiring a musician, but he's uniting an old band and old lovers. It felt like there was a real engine to the film, and you could really see where it would go. And so once we kind of hit on that in 2019, we wrote it pretty quickly. So by like early 2020, we had a script. Like when COVID set in, we had a script, and we didn't show it to anybody. We didn't get paid for any of this. We just had this script, and then gave it to James Griffiths, who directed the short, and he was really into it. And then we gave it to Rupert Magendie, who produced it, and he loved it and wanted to do it. And he just made Brian and Charles, which was another sort of low-budget British independent comedy film, which is a Film 4 film. Really brilliant film that was. And then it was just like a series of disappointments of people not wanting to do it, basically, of like different financial backers, like in the UK, basically saying we were ineligible for any funding. After a couple of years, we were just like, oh, don't really know what to do with it. And then we sort of thought maybe we'd try and like get the ball rolling ourselves and try and attach some cast. And Tim sent it to Carey Mulligan, kind of as a bit of a Hail Mary, just like he had her email address from something else like a few years earlier, and he just sent it to her. And, we had talked about her and thought that she would be kind of the ideal person to play Nell. And as luck would have it, Carey and her husband Marcus had listened to the radio show that I make with Tim and were aware of us And she was excited to read the script, and she read it, and within like a week or two, she was like, "Yeah, I'm in. I'll do it."
That's amazing.
And as soon as that happened, we were like, "Oh!" And then not only did obviously it mean that suddenly you've got financiers taking it seriously as a film and kind of seeing the potential in it, but also for us, it just gave us like renewed momentum because we'd written a script, we were really into it, and it's really disappointing when people just kind of go, "No, we don't like it," but mainly not you guys. That was the thing. That was the thing. The feedback we were getting is like, "Well, we don't want to make the film mainly you guys. No thanks." So like, it just gave us real kind of confidence when Carey wanted to do it. And then from there, yeah, Focus got involved. So it ended up being Americans who paid for it. It was a very cheap film. It was very low budget and very quick. We had to shoot it in like 18 days, I think.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. So it was a real scramble, as it always is. And as it is with anything that's, not a huge kind of bit of studio IP, like it's a scramble. But I couldn't be happier with how it turned out.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Honestly, I had no idea what to expect when I got like into watching it, and I really, really enjoyed it. I think it's very human again. Like as what I've seen from your writing, it is very human. It's really grounded, even with funny characters. They are kind of they feel real, and you feel for them. How was it working with Carey Mulligan?
It was really. It was wonderful. I mean, when she agreed to do it, there's that initial moment of just like of kind of celebration of like kind of like this is unbelievable. I can't believe this has happened. And then there's a kind of worry that sets in of like, well, how's that going to work? Is she gonna is she gonna sort of just turn up and be like, well, like these guys don't know what they're doing? Is she gonna, you know what I mean? She's a film star. Is she gonna just be a nightmare?
We've heard stories.
Right. This is the thing. And honestly, I'm really, want to emphasize that like, I'm not overstating this. It couldn't have been further from that. She basically just turned up. She was really into it. She was like, I don't want to change a thing, which massively helped with our conversations with the financiers as well. She's like, I love the script as it is. I don't really want to change a thing. You guys have made comedy before. You know what you're doing. So I trust you. Tell me how you think it should be. And we're like, well, we don't know. We've not made a film before. So like, you should probably tell us how it should be. But she was so trusting and just so lovely and just very accommodating, for all the things that inevitably go a bit wrong on a very low budget, very fast feature film, of like not having a lot of time, not having, not having a lot of crew and not having a lot of takes. Like she was just really understanding. She was a real pleasure to work with. And, you look back and you're like, my God, we were so lucky. We were so lucky that she did it, but also so lucky that she's just a really lovely, down-to-earth person.
How did you feel about watching yourself on the screen?
Awful. Like I had such a freak out. I was oh God, it's so bad. I was like hiding behind a door, like half kind of like looking but not wanting to look. It was way too much for me. And you kind of go like, what? Why? Like, why are you doing that? Why would you want to do this if you don't want to be seen? Like, it's such a mad thing, but there's definitely something interesting in that. It's like, I don't necessarily want to be seen, but I enjoy the process of it, rather than the outcome. For me, anyway. Like, I love the outcome of the whole show. Like, that's what's important to me. But for me as a person, I don't like it. It's got easier. Like, I'm not hiding behind doors anymore. Yeah. It was awful.
One would hope so.
Yeah, I know. It was just like, it was this idea of like anybody could be watching this, and it was so like overwhelming. It was so overwhelming. So that was ridiculous. But I have got better. Like, I think I started to kind of separate myself from what that is from me. I think that's important for me anyway. I think generally people don't enjoy watching themselves. Some people do.
I said many times in the podcast that, first of all, I have to edit the podcast.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You have to watch it all.
I kind of care less about how I look. I still do, of course, as we all do, but I care less. But I think with time, it's gotten easier, gotten more objective in the way that it's not that I just hate how you look and I want to punch the screen when I see my face. It's just, I don't care about it anymore as much. But when I don't like the acting, I don't like the acting. When I like the acting, which happens sometimes, not often, not from time to time, I'm alright with my acting. Sometimes I'm not alright, but when I'm not alright with the acting, I know why. And that's it.
Do you find it harder watching yourself back in an acting role or in this when you're being yourself?
I don't know. Both have pros and cons. Because when I'm acting sometimes, and again, like when I'm acting, I'm trying most of the time still kind of be myself, show the version of me. Yeah. Not always. It's with character of Volkov from The Inside Man, it's different because he is more like, this Russian gangster who is a little bit different from me, but it's kind of not exactly me. Here, when I don't like something, I straight away I realize, this is you. This is not a character. This is you. So if you don't like something, this is how you are in real life, you motherfucker.
Yeah, because you don't have to face that. Generally, people don't have to face that. You see everyone else, and so when you're watching yourself, you start to see those little things that you do that you don't realize. Like I move a lot, like constantly. I watched something back. I think I'd recorded like a lesson or something, and I was talking about my script I had written. I was like, oh, what is going on? Why am I so animated? It was just like, it was awful. So I'll probably watch this back and I'll be like, oh God, no. For sure. Like, what is my face doing? All the time.
Watch it from behind the door.
Yeah. And like down the street.
No, it's, I don't know. I think all of us are shocked when we see or hear ourselves the first time. Oh, yeah. But then we got used to some things. But there is some things that we can't get used to. And but you should. I think you should, because a lot of actors say like, I never watch myself. I'm like, but I think you should watch yourself because it helps you to learn. I know from editing this podcast that I have how you call it in English, the parasite words, basically, like just, I say like every other word, and it's just like, I hate it. And when I try to edit it and I have someone who's watching it and saying like, I can't hear you, or like, I can't listen to you anymore because you say like every other word. And I'm okay, so there are things that I have to work on, but without watching it back, you would never know. And sometimes especially now when we do self-tapes all the time for the auditions, you have to be a judge of yourself. I know some people do the self-tapes and send all the tapes to the agent, for example, and let them pick their the best takes. And I've heard that at least. I know I pick the best ones. I want to watch all of them, and
I'd also be like, surely you've got other things. Surely you're busy. Like you can't do that for everyone. That's crazy. Like I would never expect it. I don't want to watch all my tapes back. How can I expect somebody else to no?
Well, maybe it's someone who's like much higher profile than I am. I don't know.
That's crazy. Yeah. It's a lot of time as well.
So you got used to watching yourself. In general. How often are you happy with your performance? Because I've seen you in The Inside Man, and because you appeared from season 3. And I think you're very good, and I think I totally believe the relationships that your guys are having, in your little group, that maybe Volkov will disturb a little bit. Who knows?
How often am I happy with my performance? That's really hard. I think that's really hard to answer. I'm more happy the longer I've been doing it, the happier I do get. There's always things where I'm like, I would change that, I would tweak that, but I think you've kind of got to go, okay, that was what I could do at that point. And, you know, when that job's done, you've still grown and developed as a performer. So, you know, like the next one is going to be even, hopefully, like kind of moved up in your own kind of sense to that one. So there's stuff that I like, that I find, but there's always stuff that I'm always like, okay, I would change that. I would do that differently.
Does time between actually recording it and then watching it plays a role? If it was like 1 month or 2 months or 1 year or 2 days, does it differ the perception for you?
I don't really see what I've done until like months and months later. I think generally you don't, do you? Especially if it's TV. I mean, you've got no control over that.
Yeah.
I tend to not see things until like months and months later. So then hopefully by that point I'm like, do you know what? Whatever is there is there, and I'm okay with that. So even if I'm not completely happy, I don't kind of berate myself for it. I'm not kind of going, that was shit, that was like, no, I'm kind of like, do you know, I did well, I did that, and next time, you know, I'd maybe think about doing that or tweak that. So yes, I think probably if it was years, then I'd be like, yes, that wasn't great. But that's okay. Like that was years ago.
For me, because I noticed there were once not that I discovered, what was it, Google Photos or Google Pictures, just basically the backups of my old videos from the class.
Yeah.
And then I was, and some self-tapes. Oh, there were some self-tapes that I sent when I recorded them. I felt like that's good, that's strong. And now I know that some casting directors seen them, and I'm like, oh my God, I was so bad. So bad I wanted to cry, and objectively bad, because there are some tapes that I hated, and then maybe like 2 years later, there was a short film I did, Your Lucky Money, that when I was on a screening of that film, I really hated my acting. I was like, oh no, it's bad. And I was sure it was bad for a couple of years. And then I watched it again, and it wasn't as bad. I was like, you know what? Yeah, I would do it differently now. I would do it better and differently, but it was all right. It was all right.
Yeah.
So sometimes for me, if too much time passed, maybe when I really didn't have the skill, I do understand I was shit. But when I was already kind of fine-ish, to, you know, as fun as I can be, it's all right.
Yeah, I get, like, I watched some tapes from years ago back, not so long ago, and I was like, woo, that was, what am I doing? But I think that's also good in a way, because you go, oh, do you know what? Like, look how much I've developed. Like, look how much I've come. And I think sometimes we can be so kind of like, oh, I want to be doing this and I want to be doing this next job and don't realize like how much work you've actually done and how much you've progressed as a person and as a performer as well. So I think it's nice to do that. So you kind of recognize the journey that you've been on. And as well, like going back to, because you said, oh, like some casting directors would have seen that tape. I think any casting director, I imagine, would go, well, you know, I'm sure they will get better. And that was them at that point. And maybe that wouldn't necessarily put you off seeing them a few years down the line or whenever, because you might go, oh, wow, they've really changed. Like, that's incredible. I imagine, I don't know.
Hopefully, yeah.
I know, yeah. Maybe not, I don't know. Yeah.
You never know. Maybe when they thought like, oh, he's like in his mid-30s and he's this bad, he will never be good. Because they don't know that I just started a few years ago. You know.
I think, it's a funny thing, isn't it, saying like bad or good? I don't know if it's hard. I don't like necessarily saying like bad or good. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel weird about that. Like,
but you really can be bad. I mean, one can really be bad, especially when they're not prepared. Because there was one moment when I realized that I'm not bad. When because I was doing working actor studio class for like 4 years. I didn't do it last year and this year, but before that I was doing it for 6 years, I think, a weekly class. And most of the time when I did the scene in class, I either did it to a degree when I thought it wasn't bad, or if I knew it was bad, I knew why. And there was one class when I just did the scene and I didn't like it. I was sure it was shit. And Lilo, my acting teacher, my friend, he also wasn't really kind of impressed by it. So he gave me some feedback, healthy feedback. It was totally fine. But I came home and I was like, when I do class and something doesn't go well, but I know why, I'm fine. It's class. It's all right. I do that. Like I can fuck up in class. It's all right. But when I come home and I don't know why it wasn't all right, I was kind of a little bit upset.
Yeah.
And then he sent the tape next day and I watched it and I was like, actually, it's not great, but it's not shit. It's still to a degree when you can put it on screen in front of people and they shouldn't cringe because of it. And I realized, you know what? Probably by now I am an actor. And even when I'm doing the job that I'm not proud of, it's still to a degree when it's fine. It's all right. And I've seen people do much worse on TV.
Well, yeah. That's an interesting thing that you say, like, I can say I'm an actor. I think a lot of people struggle to say that. And I know for sure I did. I can't remember at what point I started to just go, yeah, I'm an actor when people asked. But before I was like, I don't really want to say it because I don't feel like an actor. What is an actor? You don't like it, I don't know. It feels like you're a bit of a fraud, I guess.
When you say I'm an actor, straight away, where could I see you? You know, and you have credits to prove that you are. A lot of actors who actually work, for a while, they don't even have that. They don't have those credits. And so some of them, because there was a period in my life when people would ask me, like, where could I see you? Could have seen you? I'm like, well, do you go to watch Russian Fringe theater in London a lot?
You never know. It's so interesting, isn't it? Because you don't feel like you're a legitimate actor unless you have an answer to that follow-up question, because that is always the follow-up question. Oh, what would I have seen you in? And you're like, nothing, actually. No. It's and I think that's probably what you struggle in terms of saying I'm an actor, is knowing what that question is. And just because you haven't been in something that they've seen, it doesn't make you any less of an actor. But it feels that way. It definitely feels that way. And I think as well, because people who are not in the industry, they don't fully understand the industry. Like, even though I know like TV and film and everything is so much of a big part of everyone's lives in a sense, but the actual, the making of it and the behind the scenes and the auditioning and the actual life of an actor, they don't fully understand. So in their minds, it's kind of like, well, you're an actor, so surely I would have seen you.
So why don't you act? That's not a problem, because I worked as a designer for 20 years. When people ask me, who are you? And I was a designer. I said, well, I'm a designer. No one asked me like, so what have you designed? Have I seen any of your banners or websites you designed? Because I actually did work as a designer every day. As an actor, though, most actors, right now I have like 1-2 acting jobs a year. And I sometimes struggle to tell people that I'm an actor, because I'm mostly not acting.
But there's so much more to what an actor is, though. Is there not? It's not just about the actual job. That's like such a small part of it. I think there's so much more that goes into being an actor. And it is working on your craft. It's auditioning, it's taping, it's working on your accents, it's going to watch stuff and living, just experiencing things, because that's going to feed into you as an artist. Like feeding that creative side of yourself if you're not working. To me, that is all being an actor, for sure. Looking after yourself physically, mentally.
Oh, who needs that?
I'm talking about you. Yeah, looking after. Well done. And I think that's hard for somebody who isn't an actor or who isn't self-employed or who isn't in the industry to understand. I actually had someone the other week who, and they didn't mean this in a bad way at all, but they've been talking about me to a friend or someone, and like, oh yeah, I know Kirsty, she's a part-time actor too. And I was like, oh yeah, no, nice. And I was like, okay. I didn't pull her up on it because I just thought, yeah, that's what she thinks. I was like, yeah, okay. Maybe I am. Yeah, maybe I am a part-time actor, I guess. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny the kind of perception of what the job is, but what they see is such a small part of it. And I think you have to, as an actor, you have to remind yourself of that as well, because otherwise it feels like you're not an actor if you're not working, and you are. Like you are.
That's the thing, because it's just us. We talk right now. We know that, but if we talk to the muggles. to the people out, like to the civilians. This is the conversation we would have to have every time to explain them. No, I'm an actor because of that, and that. And so now when people ask what I do, I say, you know what, I'm an actor, so that's why I deliver food.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I like that. That's funny.
No one would take me seriously, so I made a fake agent who had a LinkedIn page and everything. That is how I got my first few jobs in voicing. So just by using that fake agent, and that person represented me.
And what's the process? So let's say you're now in your, fake agent's, yeah, you're wearing the fake agent hat. So are you writing to the casting directors that you're representing this actor yourself?
Yeah, a combination of that, and also people at sort of different places, like different stations, TV stations, radio stations, things like that, as the agent. That opened doors quite quickly, which makes no sense when you think about that. That shouldn't work that way. It shouldn't work that way, but it did. As time went on, the fake agent wasn't required, and people dealt with me direct and knew it was me. But in order for me to get my foot in the industry, that's what was required. That was what was all that was available to me, with no other options. I had exhausted all the other options, and I thought, okay, well, this is outside the box thinking. And
were you still back in Norwich?
No, at this point I'm in London.
Okay.
At this point I'm down here. Yeah, it's tough. I feel for anyone trying to get in this industry. It's so hard. So out of the box thinking is your best friend, particularly if you're from a similar background to myself, where you're not connected, you're from like either a working class or, for myself, like a low socioeconomic background. You gotta play a different game.
Yeah. And I've heard some actors who got there, talk about this, and some of them are ignorant about this issue. They think like, but I will not name names. There was one actor who was coming from not from working class background, not for sure, and he's up there right now. He's a good actor, and he said once, like, if you have a talent, like, it doesn't matter where you're from, but it's bullshit.
Yeah,
when you have money to go and pay for very, very expensive education, at the same time you don't have to worry about actually getting a job and surviving, and you can put all your time into the craft, which is understandable. It's a very different game.
I completely agree, and that is one of the biggest problems I found. That's, to me, is the biggest barrier on a personal level. Is class. There is a massive disparity there. And I mean, even a disproportionate amount of actors in the industry, it's only around 10% are from a working class or low socioeconomic background. 10%. Yeah. So that in itself shows you there is a problem within the system where only 10% are coming through, because the arts should be for everyone, but 90% of it is for these people from upper middle class or wealthy backgrounds. And a lot have connections to the industry. And there's nothing wrong with that. I get that. But it just makes that barrier to entry for other people really difficult. And that's one thing I've noticed and still have to deal with. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. I realized that I've never been on a set in the UK, where I've worked with another cast member who has come from a working class or a low socioeconomic background, similar as myself, ever.
Yeah.
I find that just absolutely bizarre.
We spoke a lot about it with Lee Lomas, my friend. He's founder of Working Artist Studio in London. And he's from working class family background. And yeah, it's a huge issue. And I had a couple of people on the podcast who, you know, like were in the same shoes, and they know it.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It is really, really, really difficult. And I think it shows there's something wrong in the system, and from even the point of education, because it wasn't even for myself, it wasn't something that was promoted or seen as attainable.
Yeah.
Very much like, you're not going to land up doing that. You're not going to do that. Whereas when I've worked with other actors and heard about their stories, it's completely attainable. It's like, well, why wouldn't you do that? And also you got to remember, someone like myself moving to London, how do you provide for yourself? Whereas I've got friends that can live in London, but it doesn't matter if they don't work for a while, because their families have got some money behind them to support them. Yeah. And that's great for them. And fair play. If I had that, I'd do it too.
No, yeah.
But that's what makes the industry very difficult for the working class or low socioeconomic background to get in. Because how do you survive?
So you hustled your way in.
Absolutely.
This is amazing.
Absolutely hustling. I'm still hustling. I'm still hustling.
But what I've discovered is that this industry is unfortunately not ready to give us good material. So sometimes I just sit here and think, it's so sad, because I will never meet my potential. I will never meet my potential because there's no parts. Not that I'm not getting them. They don't exist.
Well, the thing is, they do start to appear. Those parts, they do start to appear, but it's just
so scarce.
It's, first of all, it doesn't happen a lot. And also, even if it does, not always people who are casting those parts really want some authenticity.
Absolutely.
And I understand if they want big names. I do understand that. But sometimes there are parts that are just right up your valley.
Yeah.
Alley? Whatever.
Yeah,
it's just for you. And then you audition for it, and then you realize that someone who doesn't speak the language that you speak, that is required for the role, they get those parts just because maybe they look, and I understand that we need to look the part. I do understand.
Of course, yeah.
But there are sometimes we don't have enough opportunities, and the ones that we have that are kind of should be for us are taken away from us. And that sometimes can be very discouraging.
Absolutely, because if you're going to put us in the box, okay, let's be in that box, fine. But if you start introducing other people that are not in the Eastern European box, taking the few parts that we have, then it's starting to be frustrating. Because I actually don't mind if a British person plays a Polish girl. Play it, go for it. Yeah. As long as I have the same opportunities. Yeah. And this is the never-ending frustrations.
And also look, acting is acting. I do understand that. If they can play it, they can play it. It's fine. I do understand it, because what Kate Winslet played this in a film about the Jobs. Steve Jobs, I think.
Yes.
She played this Polish woman, and she made and she worked on the accent, and it was, very soft, very subtle. She didn't want to push it too hard, and it's Kate Winslet.
Yeah.
She did a great job.
Of course.
I understand that. But then when some people played and I've been in a situation when I was on set, and I will not name names, but there was this guy who, he was supposed to speak Russian, and he didn't speak Russian at all. I don't know how much he worked on those phrases, and the phrases weren't easy for a non-Russian speaker to learn those phrases. It wasn't easy. I understand that.
Yeah.
But when we have a take, and instead of saying his line, because the camera is on me, he says, oh, literally, that's what he says, just to mark.
Yeah.
And I have to work against it.
Yeah.
It's just come on, guys. That's not nice.
I know. And I think there is this misconception that we need to have known faces. It's proven not to be true, because you look at, Squid Games.
biggest Netflix, like, wow, people went crazy for it. I presume 95% of people did not recognize these actors.
I think more they're known in
They
South
known
Korea.
in their in their countries.
It's Korean, right?
I think
I
so.
think it's Korean. I think it's South Korea. I think they're not there, but yeah, I think the whole world.
Exactly, but the world would not know them.
Yeah.
So, and yet so successful. I do see bigger parts that are happening for Eastern European. It's different, for men as well. I think it's slightly easier for women, I feel.
Yeah.
I don't know what's your impression. Like, do bigger parts for men exist that are juicy?
Well, I mean, define juicy. It's
Just something with a little bit of freaking storyline, man. I'm not even that demanding. Just give me a few episodes.
Well, look, it's weird because take, for example, Stranger Things.
Yes.
One of the biggest shows in the world, right?
Yeah.
And they're Russians, and some of them were cast Russians, and there's both this guy who appears from time to time. I can see his face. He was like in the last Mission Impossible. He was playing this Russian captain. He was there, one of the prison inmates.
Yeah.
And he's here, he's there. Like, he does some episodic parts, mostly of, bad guy, because he I think he looks kind of the part of, I'm sure he can play anything.
Yes.
But he kind of looks the part. But then there was this big part of this Russian prisoner who was with David Harbour in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not played by the Russian. His Russian isn't amazing. So there are parts, but there sometimes go to the people who are not,
That's very
authentic
frustrating.
enough. But no, I think industry opens up and there are more parts, and they do look for more authentic parts.
It's just so slow, man. I'm gonna be in my 80s.
You were in the Kingsman.
I was in Kingsman, yes.
Tell me about that experience.
That was mad. So I went in for a different part for some posh girl, usually it's my casting. Some like posh brat. And then I got a recall for the part that I ended up getting. And I had to go to Leavesden. And I remember just being like, oh my God, I've got to go all the way to Leavesden. And then I didn't really quite clock that I was going to be meeting everyone. And they were really late. I was in this room for about 45 minutes waiting. And I did the audition again. And then Matthew Vaughan was like, can you swim? And I was like, yeah, I'm a really good swimmer.
Are you?
Yeah, I actually am. I could actually be confident with this one, not blag. Where I was like, yeah, I'm a really good swimmer. I used to swim for my team in the county. So yeah, I was quite like bolshy.
Yeah.
And his producer was in there, and there's a casting director in there, and like his assistant, I think. It was just all these people in this really small room. I was like, this is really intense. And then I remember leaving and calling my agent at the time and being like, yeah, I did this. I had to wait ages. I don't know. But like, they asked me if I swim, and I did. And then I think it was later that day that I got the part, or the day after. And I think it was just a really quick turnaround. I think the script was changing all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. The original script was very different. But yeah, it was amazing. It was my first time as an actor being on that kind of stage. Just huge budget. And it was just really, I mean, it was what you'd imagine, like it was a boys' club.
Yeah.
And myself and Sophie Cookson were the only two women really we were the only recruits, two female recruits, and we got on really well, and we still like chat and we're still friends, and that's lovely. But it was quite, male dominated. Especially in the scene that I was in, there's lots of them with their tops off. There was lots of press-ups going on. Lots of gym and, protein shake chat. But it was really fun. But it was mad. Just like they basically, because the scene, if you haven't seen it, that my character was in, was the water starts rising up, and as their first task, the water starts rising up into the set. And so to do this, to create this illusion, the set was lowered into a water tank. Ooh. So it was built, so there were two sets. So it was built on a scissor lift and lowered into the tank. And the first time, there's so much safety stuff. We all had to do scuba diving training. We all had to do free diving training. There were lots of safety scuba divers in the set. There were things at the top of the like the ceilings, the panels you could pop open, and if we did get submerged, you could pop up at the top, and then lots of doors you get. It's all as safe as it could be, because you are essentially submerging 10 of your actors. So
who should be all confident swimmers.
And then, the first scene, it was only going to go up to 1.5, like to our stomachs, basically. And a valve on the scissor lift broke, malfunctioned. And so the entire set got completely submerged when it wasn't supposed to. Mm-hmm. And so we were all like, it kept rising. And we all kind of popped out of these panels. And one of the actors freaked out because there was this cross in the middle that he'd forgotten that was glued down the ceiling. So he tried to like punch his way out. And then, the scuba divers came in, and we all kind of came up, and had the whole of the crew at the top was like, is everyone okay? It was crazy. Yeah. It was amazing. And
how many days in general you were on set?
So I was booked for 3 weeks, I think, for that one scene.
Yeah.
Or a couple of scenes. But it overran because this whole thing happened with the scissor lift. It overran. Yeah. And they had to, pay for all of that.
Yeah. How many days you spent in the water?
In and out. I mean, because spoiled out, my character dies. I think there was 10 days altogether in and out of the water.
How was the experience?
It was amazing. It was great. Yeah. I mean, like crazy.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
Was it physically hard?
No.
Yeah.
Not really.
Because you're a confident swimmer.
I was like, right, confident swimmer. It's on my spotlight. It was fine. I mean, again, my character, I think for some of them, it was probably harder because they had to be submerged underwater and like do the breathing with the tubes and all that, which I didn't have to do. Mm. So it was probably a bit more laborious for them, but for me it was great.
Yeah, because the thing is, I just recently I've heard the story with Marina Bakarin. She was in Deadpool, and there was a scene that ended up on the
classroom floor.
Yeah. And basically there was a scene that apparently they spent probably a day or 2 days underwater, and she was kind of like captive. She was in this chair. What they didn't realize that when you fill the room with water, this chair started just like some debris went in the water, and she ended up with very serious eye infection was like for a few days. And she says like it was just hell. I hated it every second, and I was like it was very painful. And when you kind of open your eyes underwater, you can't see anything.
Yeah, I was wearing contacts at the time. I couldn't wear contacts.
Yeah,
all of that. But my part was I thoroughly enjoyed playing Amelia. It was great. It was really fun. And
was this the biggest production you were in, like screen-wise? Yeah,
without a doubt. Like the biggest budget, most like pyrotechnics. I mean, I've worked as an AD on some big stuff, on those sort of soundstage things. I did pickups for Kingsman 2 as an AD. Some reshoots, which was a real, test for the ego. I was in the first film, and now I'm a runner.
You know what? This is not the best.
It's all good for you.
Not the biggest test for the ego, because just recently I was like the biggest, not the second biggest production I was in. Like I was very lucky. I don't think I can say what it was.
Okay.
Because it was just basically like last month. It was just 2 days. It was like on.
You're right.
You know, and it was like fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. And you like, they pick you up in the morning, a nice car.
Oh yeah, cool.
And you
Always.
spend 2 days with just like, it's so amazing. Then you come back like it was never happened. And next day you jump on your bicycle and you
you're
deliver
delivering
food.
Two.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wish.
Yeah. I mean,
so-
that's it. That is the life of an actor. I mean, yeah.
And then, you know, wait for your next project for probably like a year again.
Yeah, definitely. There's nothing quite like it to test your ego.
Yeah.
Build your confidence.
And how was the cast? How was like
Taron.
Taron? How was
Richardson.
Taron? Yeah.
Yeah, he was lovely. I mean, he was pre it blowing up. I think he definitely felt the pressure.
Yeah.
I think it was a lot for him.
I think it was one of his first like.
It was,
big,
yeah. It was one of his first, and I think, you know, he had to spend a lot of time in the gym because they obviously need to look a certain way, and there's all of those pressures that were put on all of us, really. But yeah, we all got on really well. I mean, it would be weird to see us all now. I saw Rowan recently. He was like casting. He was helping in the casting out, and that was really lovely. And I was I've like been in touch with some of them for a little while, but Sophie we still chat with. I still chat with.
Nice. You were trying to prove everything wrong, and then you realized that you're beautiful enough to be Miss Universe.
That's definitely not how it happened.
How does one decide, like, you know what?
Yeah.
I am actually pretty enough. How did it happen? No.
This is why it's hard to explain, because of everything that I was feeling, and then I go and put myself in a competition. So I can understand that people would be like, yeah, but so why did you do that? Why, if you wanted to prove people wrong, you wanted to be a doctor, why did you go and do that?
Yeah.
Honestly, what happened was, it was a moment of desperation. And I really, I never thought that it would get to the point that it did. I never thought that I would win. I never thought that, I just didn't think that it even held that kind of, that weight to it, like the competition. I didn't know that they did that here in this country, because in Colombia it's massive, in all of South America, in Asia. So when I saw that they were doing this, it was around 2 a.m. I was in Manchester, I was at uni, and I was broke. I was so broke. I'd spent all my maintenance loan. I was living on like potatoes. I was broke, and I was looking online for like how to make some quick money. And a friend of mine had suggested hair modeling. I'd never done any modeling. I think almost not even just like out of rebellion, but just not really believing in myself, or I just didn't think that I didn't know how to get into it. But I had really long hair at the time. And so my friend was like, do go onto this site. They're sometimes looking for hair modeling. Like maybe you'll just get a hair trim and they'll give you £100. Like just like a hairdresser's. So I did that, and I was looking, and then I saw this casting, and I thought, oh, I didn't know that they did this. This is like some miscongeniality stuff like that. And I love that film, and I was like, oh, maybe it could be a bit fun. And I did it as a joke, almost. I did it as the kind of like who knows. I sent off the application form, and then I was invited to a casting in London, and I came down to the casting, and that really gave me a lot of confidence, because I met the national director, I met the winner from the year before, and they were quite surprised that I'd never done anything like that. They were like, you've never done a pageant? You've never done any modeling? What do you mean? You're like fresh, you're brand new? And I was just sitting there like, yeah, I've never done anything like this. I don't know if I'm good enough. And I don't know, I think they saw something in me, and they saw this kind of innocence that I definitely had at that age. But they also, I feel like they saw a spark in something that made me stand out. And then I went and got a place in the final, just like that. And it was
What's the process?
very fast.
How does it happen? Like, what's the process of you going to the casting?
So that year they did a casting, and then they picked out a few people, because normally what they do is they hold regionals. So each city or county in the UK will have their regional pageant. So you'll go and you'll be Miss London or Miss Manchester or Miss Liverpool, whatever. And that's how normally you gain a place in the final. That year, I don't know what had happened, if they had some spaces, they hadn't had enough regionals, because people have to want to hold the regional. So an external person will come in and want to hold that competition. And so, I don't know, I got lucky. That year, they were holding just casting. So I didn't have to do a competition prior to the final. And I got selected and went into the final straight away. And so then the final was maybe 3 or 4 months after I was selected, and you start training for that. So the finals are, oh God, it's so long ago. There were 3 rounds. There's a bikini round, an evening wear round, and an interview round. And I just started doing loads of research, like, going on YouTube, seeing past winners. I would always been very good at interviews, from like my university interviews and like job interviews. I felt like I could, explain myself and defend myself pretty well, and express myself. So interviews didn't feel that hard for me. And I honestly think that I won on the night because I did consistently well in the 3 categories. I wasn't the best. I don't think I was. I know I wasn't. I wasn't the fittest. I wasn't the best in bikini. I wasn't the smartest, but I scored highly and consistently in all of the rounds. And that was a huge lesson for life, really. Like, you don't have to be the most talented. You don't have to be the smartest in the room, but you have to be consistent. And that stuck out. And I'm sure that that's why I won that day, because I was in a top 5 with a surgeon. There was a surgeon, and I looked up to her. She was like 4 years older than me. She was a full-time surgeon, stunning, like doing everything that I wanted to do. And like an Asian bridal model. There was a girl who was very experienced and had already been to Miss World or something and had done so much more. And then there was, I was the only one in that top 5 that this was my first pageant. I don't know, people say it's beginner's luck. I don't
Is there a lot of pressure to, to keep some consistent weight, to have like the measurements and everything? Yeah,
massively. Yeah, this was 2010. So, God, so long ago. So long ago. And there was still, we'd just come out of, the noughties where everyone was really, really thin. You had to be. So when I won, I wasn't like, I'd say like a model weight back then or something, but I worked hard to try and get to that. So there was a lot of pressure. I wouldn't say it's healthy. Definitely not.
Do you have like a team of people who work around you, or is it like it's not you who selects the dress and the bikini and everything?
So in different countries, it's a whole team and you have a lot of support. Here, you didn't really have that much support. Not really. And, being a 19-year-old, I just turned 20 when I won, I think. I was very impressionable. So I did a lot of things that people told me were the right thing to do. And, looking back, I wish I hadn't done them like that, maybe.
Like,
like using my most poshest accent, like my most well-spoken accent, because, you know, I miss Great Britain, so I needed to sound extra English. My name that we used, they took out the Martinez. That was suggested to me so that I sounded less Latin. I didn't tan so that I looked lighter. My hair was suggested to go blonder. So I was like quite blonde and pale to look more European.
yeah.
It was all kind of very much numbing and dumbing down my Latinness.
And you were the first Latin
Winner.
winner in the UK, right?
And only so far.
Yeah. Do you think all those things actually helped to win? I'm not saying it helped to actually to your feeling of your self-worth as
Yeah.
Latina, but, you know, did it really help, or you think it was, yeah?
Yeah, I think definitely it helped me with the confidence of, you know, like I have something different that there's not that many of us. So, you know, going in and being probably...
But I mean, like all the stuff that you had to do that they told you to do to look more European. Do you think it actually helped to win?
To win, that was after I won.
Oh, okay.
That was after I won. So that was when I was going to Miss Universe,
Miss Universe
to represent the UK.
in
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, yeah.
Yeah. Before that, I'd never really colored my hair. It was dark. I was tanned. I was a little bit fuller. I looked very, very Latina and very different to everyone else on the stage, which probably helped me stand out on that night. But then in the long run, then they wanted to change me and make me... because that's when, you do get people that want to work with you, and you do build a team, because it has to be. You can't do that on your own.
Yeah.
And it's not just you. You're not just representing you. You're representing a whole country. So it was really tough.
How did it feel on the day they pronounce your name? You are Miss Universe United Kingdom. How did it feel for you?
I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it. There's the video of my name getting called out, and there's the 5 of us stood at the back, and I heard the name, but I didn't register. So I was looking around like, who was it? Because they say, you know, the second runner-up. So the person who's third, they called them out. Then the first runner-up. And so there's 3 of us left. And I thought, oh, okay, I think I want her to win. And just kind of like wishing them well. I was just happy to be there. I was so grateful to be up there. The fact that I got to the top 5 was ridiculous. And I had already won Miss Charity. So as I mentioned, like I'd done this from being in school. It was something that I was really passionate about, charitable causes. So winning Miss Charity, which was the title for the person who had raised the most for the foundation. My mum and I really worked hard on doing so much. We did a whole like Disney themed photo shoot and sold calendars and things. So that my night was made. I was done. And then the girl that was next to me was like, "It's you." So I kind of went, "Oh shit," and then walked to the front, and I was like shaking, and I didn't compute. It didn't make any sense to me until a few days later. I was like, oh God, what have I got myself into? Like really, like the fear kind of sets in, like this is a big thing. And I kind of went into it as a bit of a joke, and I have to put in the work, because it's not just me.
And do you go to the finals to Las Vegas next year, same year?
The same year.
Yeah. And how was it? Is it, I'm guessing it's much bigger scale?
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Like, never seen anything like it, and never will again.
Yeah. Well, we don't know that.
It's a once in a lifetime experience for sure. And it was probably one of the most exhilarating, most eye-opening, most pressure-filled, anxiety-filled experiences of my life.
Eye-opening on what?
It made me grow up a lot more. I was already quite mature, but it really kind of catapulted me into stepping into my womanhood and you know, really finding my voice, really growing a thick skin, like even thicker than I had already been building, because you get a lot of backlash, you get a lot of hate, a lot of trolls. You know, the internet was kind of not starting up, but it was, you know, like social media was becoming more prevalent, and
People started showing their faces online.
Yeah, there was a lot of hate mail, a lot of trolling, a lot of bad press. The UK press wasn't really behind me. They kind of like joked about me. They were pretty racist about me. Yeah, so it was tough. It was a lot of times I wanted to just give up. Because
why didn't you?
Because I realized that it wasn't just me, and I was, you know, I had my whole family working on this dream. And not just the people in the UK that know me in the industry and supported me, but everyone in Colombia as well. I had got so much love from Colombia. I got more love from Colombia saying, we have 2 queens this year.
Nice.
We have 2 representatives, which I'm sure the Miss Colombia wasn't that happy about. But I felt so loved and so accepted by my country, you know, my culture. And I think that was definitely, it was so strange winning Miss Great Britain and then feeling more love from the Colombian community and really kind of accepting me in a way that, you know, I'd longed to be accepted for so long because of, you know, being here. I wanted to shout from the rooftops that I am Colombian, I swear. Yeah, it was really beautiful, and I felt like I if I backed down, I would be letting so many people down, and I was there.
Yeah.
So it was really kind of like reminding myself that I deserved to be there, and I wanted to do the best.
I think we all should talk about it, and especially people who are creatives. AI, what do you make of it?
Oh, God, I get asked about this a lot. In fact, I've decided recently to do a second edition of the first book and include AI. I can't not do that. So that'll, in all my spare time, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
I'll just get AI to write it. No. It's an interesting relationship with AI. I've learned a lot. What's helped me is having 2 curious, smart children who are of adult age now, and they have very strong opinions on AI, and they're both creatives.
Yeah.
And so I hear about digital natives coming into the market and what are they going to do with it. But what summed it up a while ago, late last year, I was asked to speak at an event in London as part of a panel, and there was an expert in creating AI products. That was like a deep digital expert. There was a woman who'd made a successful business explaining to small businesses how AI can help them. There was another guy that was more of a philosopher, I think. And there was me, and they said, we want you to come along because of the book, because you can represent humanity. Like, what, all of it? Okay. But it was a really interesting debate, and I've been fascinated with it ever since. And I've followed a lot of people who talk about it. I talk to a lot of independent creatives who are there. And the biggest question I get asked is my job under threat? Is my work under threat of being done by AI? And I always say, if you are in the middle, that kind of mediocre, for want of a better word, you're an average creative. If you write, average copy for average websites at a low cost, then absolutely AI is going to eat your lunch for you. It's going to take that work.
And it's not even like about, I think it means like your skills are mediocre. It's just like the tasks that you're
the work that you get to do.
Yeah.
It might be the clients you have. But you can affect who you work for. You don't have to I stopped working for a set of clients to do the comedy and business thing. And I stopped. It was a big, scary risk. Mm-hmm. I didn't have any money then, My point is that, times are hard and people get nervous. And the problem with AI is just hating AI is not going to fix it.
Oh, no. And it's not going anywhere.
It's going to be part of life. I do, however, believe that also AI is starting to eat itself. So the work that it creates that is kind of imperfect goes back onto the internet and then becomes research material for the next generation of AI. And so it's like, bleh. So what do they call it? AI slop. There's a lot of that around.
It's the thing, because not a lot of people, but and I mean, look, it does become better in many ways, technically, AI, like you've generated pictures sometimes. Now I have to look at it twice to kind of realize, actually, you know what, this is AI, and it becomes better. But at the same time, people who work with it, my son, he is in a college and he wants to be, an artist. And he sees it straight away. He's like, yeah, that's AI. I'm like, yeah. And I myself, I worked as a designer for 20 years. Yeah. And I have, my opinion on the AI, like it's just, first of all, there is no point of hating it. You can hate whatever you want. It will not change anything. And also, a lot of the stuff that I did, it just makes sense not to use a person doing it and have AI do some mundane tasks that are very kind of, routine. And it makes it much faster. And you know what? It actually has more knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, it has more knowledge than any designer.
You can always trust that knowledge, though.
The thing is, like sometimes it makes things up.
Yeah. If you go and look for a certain specialist in a certain area, you might get one or two real ones, but it'll make a couple of others up as well.
The thing is, even like because I do use ChatGPT to prepare for the podcast. I prepare for a podcast, and I was preparing the same. Like I do know you, I know your social networks. I kind of studied that, but also I asked ChatGPT about like, well, who is Jim Shields? And ChatGPT tells me, Jim Shields lives in Scotland. I'm like, can you please?
No, it doesn't.
can you please recheck, double check if Jim Shields lives in Scotland? Oh yes, you're right. Actually, you know what? I just like why you? So you do have to check.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, what I believe that will come to pass with AI, and it's just it's not just my thoughts. I have listened to a lot of people who speak about it, who are in the creative industries. What I've heard people talk about is that the real creativity coming from humans will be the premium product. It will be the thing that is sought after. So your job as a creative is to include yourself in that layer. Like a lot of other things, where the premium product is the most expensive because it's real and it's crafted and it has personality. Yeah. And it's original. There is a need for mundane tasks to be taken away. And I don't know who said this, but I know somebody else said that what I want is AI to sort out my inbox. I don't want it to create the art that I want. I will now have time to create because it sorted out my inbox. And that, why are we making a machine that can do the things we want to do? We'll make a machine to make the other bits, the boring parts, more efficient. Yes, please, let's do that. But early on, when they had IBM had a computer called Watson, which was early AI, I guess, and it started generating contracts for lawyers and doing wills and all of the mundane bread and butter work that a small average law firm would do.
And medicine, come on, please add AI to medicine, because it's like
medicine. It can spot a scan, it can assess a scan better than a human now, but in percentage terms. Yeah. But I also think that if a doctor meets a patient and understands a bit about their life, that's really important.
I think it will be just combination of people and AI. AI is a tool. It should be a tool.
There is a place for it. Yeah, there's absolutely a place for it. Yeah. I just think that creatives who are scared about getting consumed into the work area of AI and getting replaced by AI, I think your job is to be out there, do your job as a creative, and do something different. Now, we say, there's nothing different under the sun. There is, somebody once said that when you collide two things that shouldn't be together, there's a collision, and that is creativity. That gives you an infinite number of options.
So you said your dad was schizophrenic, yeah?
Yes.
Is.
Yeah.
And how, can you explain to people who don't know, and well, to me as well, because I'm familiar with the term. Like, I do know a little bit about it, but like, what is it? What is schizophrenia?
Schizophrenia, it's a mental illness that warps your perception of reality. So basically that means anything. So whether it's you're hearing voices, you're seeing things, or you're talking about something that didn't happen, because that did happen with my dad quite a lot when I was younger. He would say certain things and I'm like, that didn't happen. Sometimes when I'll speak to him over the phone, I will notice the shift. And when I notice the shift, then I'm like, oh, okay, maybe you haven't been taking your medication. Because you hear the tonal shift, or maybe he might be laughing a lot, or when he laugh a little bit too much, I might be like, okay, like just to keep an eye on or whatever. And I remember there was a time when I was on the phone to him when I was younger. I don't remember how old, but I was on the phone to him and I can tell like he was experiencing a bit of an episode. And he said to me, he was like, oh, ask your mum if she remembers that time we had a dance. And I was like, okay. And I said to Mum, do you remember the time that you and Dad had this dance? And she looked at me and she said, he's not well. She was like, no, that didn't happen. And from that moment, I knew that, you know, he was sort of like having his episode or whatever. Schizophrenia, it takes its form in different ways. I remember there was another time where I sort of just saw him sitting there, just staring blankly into space, like just staring at nothing. And he was irresponsive. You talk to him, he wouldn't talk. I remember I tried to, I don't know why I thought I could get through to him or whatever, but I tried to talk to him, no response, and he was just sort of just staring blankly into the space. And sometimes they disappear for a while, because he's also gone, and we didn't hear from him. I remember there was a time we didn't hear from him for a whole year, and we didn't know what happened to him. We just thought, we thought anything could happen to him because, you don't hear from him, no phone calls, no, went to his house a good few times. There was no one there. And yeah, he came back eventually. And, I asked him where he went, and he said he went everywhere. He just said we went everywhere throughout the country. And I was like, what did you do? And he was just like, he was just wandering. And like, that was very interesting to me. Because like, it was just very interesting to me hearing, that you sort of, it sounds almost like an adventure in a weird way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like where you just sort of say, you know what, I'm just going to go somewhere, or I'm just going to go everywhere. And then you sort of just take a train, you have no plans. And then, you have the bag on your back, or you don't, or whatever. And then you sort of just go somewhere, and you don't look back for a while or whatever. So
it does sound like an adventure, but the adventure that I would never have enough guts to take.
Exactly. That's kind of what, in a weird way, I respected about him, because like, you just did something, like something that I there's no way that I would have done that or whatever.
Alone.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's a form that schizophrenia could take. There's another version. Someone that I know very well, he was experiencing an episode as well. And he was in my house one time. And I heard like shouting, right? And cause he was my mum's friend. So they would chill or whatever. And I just heard shouting. So I thought he was, shouting at her. So I came out to see like, what's going on? Like, you're protective over your mom and whatever. And then I saw him just sort of staring up into the ceiling and just shouting at himself. Cause he was saying his name. He's like, why did you do that? Staring into the ceiling and just, you know, just repeating himself. Why did you do that? Why did you do that? And like, that's when we realized, okay, he's having, you know, an episode or whatever. But so, that I guess in a nutshell, I hope that sort of I hope that explains what schizophrenia can be.
But there's medication. How good is medication? What, like, does it actually prevent the episodes, or
it holds back the thoughts?
Yeah.
Because you know, I've heard, my dad has said, like, when he's having his moments or whatever, he refers to them as demons. So he says the demons take over and stuff like that. So like, he said it can be quite loud when he doesn't take his medication, because he hears these thoughts. He hears a lot of intrusive thoughts. And yeah, so the medication sort of holds that back from happening. So you don't hear these thoughts, and, you know, you don't sort of see things and imagine things that didn't happen and whatnot. So, yeah, it's interesting how that actually works, right? You can take medication to stop these things. I think that's very interesting. But yeah, so it holds back these thoughts and these inner monologues and all of that stuff. So that's what the medication's for, which more time does help. But yeah, apparently processed sugar prevents it from doing its job. If you have excess processed sugar, like if you have a lot of like sweets and chocolates and stuff like that and whatnot.
Apparently sugar nowadays, like I was listening to some different like podcasts about like, and sugar is just bad for everything. Like people, apparently they're like, it's I'm not sure how much of it is true, but I've heard that changing the diet, eating properly, can remove a lot of the symptoms of mental diseases.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what we eat is horrible nowadays.
Yeah.
But how did it affect you? Like your childhood and just in general having a father with schizophrenia?
It affected me because, you know, I feel like, obviously I felt like at the time it was just me or just us that was going through it. So it was a situation where I guess I craved normality. Because, you know, you have these things going on in your life when you're younger, and to you that's normal. But then, you know, you go to school and you see, you know, other children with their families, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe it's not normal or whatever, because maybe both parents are there, or, you know, whatever. It seems a little bit more, the foundation seems a little bit more solid. So yeah, I guess I craved normality in that sense, and, you know, just not having that support of the father there really, you know, sort of took effect. And not just not having that there, the fact that he had those issues as well, you know, didn't help as well. Because obviously I understand it now that I'm an adult. I can, you know, I respect him and I love him. It's like, it's fine, because, you know, what's done is done and you have to forgive. And not just like that, but when you're a child, you don't want to understand. You choose not to understand because, you know, why can't it be that simple? Why can't it be that easy? Why can't we just, you know, be normal or whatever? The jigsaw pieces weren't fitting together. So yeah, it definitely did affect me. But at the same time, sometimes you come out stronger because of it. And I think that's sort of the takeaway from these things sometimes.
To be a fighter, you have to have that mindset. You have to go down get into deep waters, you know, you have to be able to. And I feel like, you know what, a lot of this comes from training. If you train hard and you put yourself into dark places in training, then you're able to put yourself into dark places in the ring as well, you know? And when I mean dark places, like the place that you're talking about at the moment is like, right, I'm tired, I'm hurt, I haven't got no air left, I've got no energy left, yeah? Then you're still trying to find some sort of energy from somewhere, right? To be able to keep going, at least see the end of the fight or win the fight, you know?
Because a lot of people I'm sure I'm one of those people would like in this situation would feel like, do I really need this?
Yeah. See, those times. Listen. So you have to. Right. So here's what I understand from it as well. Sometimes as well. Like, how much do you love the fight? Is the thing. Like, how much do you love, like, let's say Muay Thai or boxing or whatever combat sport you're doing? How much do you love it? Depending on that, if you love it that much, you're willing to sacrifice your health. You're willing to sacrifice for the love of the art, for the love of competition, for the love of winning, for the love of the accomplishments. Do you know what I mean? For the love of the highs, you know? So it's just, it's a passion thing. It's a love thing. You know, you have to be in love with it. And if you're not in love with it, you have the mindset of what you're talking about right now. You're like, fucking hell, man, I've just got punched in the face and that hurts. My mouth is bleeding. What am I doing this for? This is stupid. The money's crap as well. Like, what am I doing this for? Am I dumb? Yeah, of course. If you're somebody that doesn't love it, that's why for this kind of sport, you have to be in love with it. If you're not in love with it, forget it.
I think it's any kind of sport.
I think that's anything in life. I think that's anything in life. Generally, you see most people, if you're in love with something, you're successful at it. You know what I mean?
Or at least you're trying.
Or at least you're trying.
At least you're trying.
He's trying.